Here it is. Here's Trump back in April celebrating the job numbers, and now all of a sudden the job numbers are fake. Wrong. The construction field is growing. Wrong. The construction field is not growing according to the new jobs report. In fact, manufacturing jobs are not growing at all. Farmers are hiring. I don't know where they're hiring. I am not absolutely wrong. Here, let me see if I can pull it up here for you. Actually, I'll pull up the July jobs report. It's really easy to pull it up. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up here. July jobs report PDF. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. July 2025. Here we go. Here it is. Look at this. Employment showed little change over the month in other major industries, including mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction, construction. Little change. Boy. What was that, Steve? What was that, Steve? Huh? Oh, this is from the BLS. The same one that Donald Trump was upset about. That's leftist propaganda. Yeah, I know. Yeah, facts don't care about your feelings, bud. Facts don't care about your feelings. All right. So I watched a little bit of this. This is not, actually, let's do this in order. We'll watch Caroline Levitt first, since that was yesterday. And then we'll watch this video and then this one. We might be able to get to it. It's only 8:12, so we will get through some of this.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have a lot of news today, and I have quite a few.
You get paid by the DNC? That's a little bit defamatory, don't you think? You get paid by the DNC? You have no evidence of that whatsoever. In fact, I don't get paid by the DNC. I get paid by all of my lovely followers, by the way, as this is a good time for me to say, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you haven't already. And if you're watching this on Twitch or Twitter or X, make sure you hit that like button, okay? Or follow me if you're watching this on Twitch. All right, sounds good? All right, let's continue on.
Few announcements for you, so let's get to it. First,
Maggie, you're global suckers. You guys didn't watch the video, huh? Yeah, they don't watch the video. You got a grant as well? I got a grant? No, I definitely did not get a grant. What does the ADP say? That should be correct. They are the ones that keep track of payroll in the USA. So, Teresa, they showed... Oh, let me pull it up. Here, let me pull it up real quick for you. I do want to watch this, but I want to pull up the ADP numbers. Actually, this was the first one I pulled up. It's this one right here. Here. U.S. employers announced 62,000 job cuts in July, up 29% from June and 140% from last year. So that's what ADP showed, is that there are 62,000 job cuts in July. So that's where we're at, unfortunately.
on behalf of the President and the White House, we express our deepest condolences
to the
it's pretty sad. Of New York police officer Islam, who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of his fellow New Yorkers. As the funeral services are held in New York City today, everyone at the White House is keeping the officer's family, friends, and fellow NYPD
thoughts and prayers, guys. Thoughts and prayers, the typical Republican tagline.
Law enforcement officers in our thoughts and prayers. The President
told you.
The President has always and will always proudly stand with our men and women in blue. May God bless Officer Islam and the other individuals who were tragically killed in this senseless act of violence. In other news, President Trump's working visit to Scotland was a huge success. In less than 48 hours, President Trump broke...
Yeah, a huge success for his business. Donald Trump ended up announcing that he was opening a new golf course in Scotland over the last weekend. Just FYI.
Brokered the biggest, most impactful trade deal in history and prevented a war in Asia for the second time since he took office. We have never had a president who wields the full power of the United States to negotiate good deals for our country and its people like President Trump. This is what maximum leverage looks like. On the peace front, President Trump helped deliver an immediate and unconditional ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. The two countries were engaged in a deadly...
Yeah, again, she's trying to do all this, the Nobel Peace Prize. I definitely don't think that it should be that. So, yeah. And she did a golf. Yeah, you're 100% right, Joe. He did. He threw the caddy walked by and then threw the ball behind him. I remember that one, too. You're a brainwashed MAGA sheep. It's so funny when MAGA comes in here. It's kind of cute. How many floors below ground level are they going on that? On that? What are you talking about? Steve is out here evangelizing hard for this orange messiah. Yeah, there's probably some like MAGA bots that like troll and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Conflict that had displaced more than 300,000 people until President Trump stepped in to put an end to it. The president spoke directly on the phone with the acting Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister of Cambodia.
I don't appreciate you calling me. I'm actually independent. Yeah, the problem with independents and libertarians is they tend to always side with the right. They never really ever go left. There are times where an independent may go left in terms of the general public. There's certainly that possibility, but it doesn't typically happen. Greg, if you're not MAGA, then don't fall in that line. Matter of fact, let me explain to everybody who's watching, all 330 people who should be hitting that like, subscribe, notification bell. Let me be very clear. I define MAGA as somebody who is religiously Trump. Let me ask you a few questions. There's a few defining questions that I look at, right? Which is, how do you feel about J6? That's a good one right there, right? Can you name more, like, can you give me reasons why what Donald Trump has done bad that is not in the mainstream? If you cannot do that, and if you could tell me that you voted for, say, Vivek Ramaswamy, or you would have voted for, say, a Ron DeSantis, you might be MAGA. That might be why. And I use it typically when I can detect that that person is MAGA. And generally speaking, a lot of the Republicans have given way to MAGA. So yeah, about probably 90% of the Republican Party right now is MAGA.
To inform both leaders that unless they brought their conflict to an end, there would be no trade discussions or agreements with the United States. Almost immediately afterward, a peace was brokered that will save thousands of lives and allowed for trade negotiations with these countries to resume.
What's going on, Sansel?
The president has now ended conflicts between Thailand and Cambodia.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is even remotely true between Thailand and Cambodia. What role did he even have in that?
Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, India and Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt.
None of these I have any idea of how he interacted with this. None of this. What role did he have in any of this?
And Ethiopia. This means President Trump has brokered, on average, about one peace deal or ceasefire per month during his 6 months in office. It's well past time that President Trump was awarded.
We're just going to ignore, the biggest conflicts, guys. We're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore the Gaza and Israel thing. We're going to ignore Russia and Ukraine, guys. We're just going to ignore the fact that Donald Trump said he was going to end the war in Ukraine on day one. We're going to ignore the fact that Donald Trump said he wants to put a Trump resort in Gaza. We're going to ignore all of that, guys. Oh, we're going to also ignore the fact that Donald Trump went in and bombed Iran. We're going to ignore that, guys. But guys, he helped end a conflict, guys. Get out of here.
The Nobel Peace Prize. I know the topic of Israel is on everyone's mind. I have an update from Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who I got off the phone with this morning. Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and other officials today in Israel on the topic of delivering much-needed food and aid to Gaza. President Trump is a humanitarian with a big heart, and that's
humanitarian. Here, let me show you guys something here. Hold on. He's a humanitarian, right? Hold on, guys. Let me show you this real quick, all right? He's a humanitarian, guys. Remember that. Remember that statement. He's a humanitarian. The Trump administration is about to incinerate 500 tons of emergency food because he made cuts to USAID. Let that sink in. And the federal workers warned for months that the high energy biscuits would go to waste. But he's a humanitarian, guys. He's a humanitarian.
That's why he sent Special Envoy Witkoff to the region in an effort to save lives and end this crisis. Tomorrow,
Yeah, Joe, that's a great question, right? And Donald Trump has yet to have answered that. Mar-a-Lago had underage workers. But so the funny thing about that is, or not funny, is that he mentioned that Epstein stole Virginia Giuffre. Okay? Virginia Giuffre was a minor working at Mar-a-Lago that Ghislaine Maxwell recruited for Epstein. Why was she there, and why did he refer to her as property? There's a whole lot of questions there, 100%.
Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee will be traveling into Gaza to inspect the current distribution sites and secure a plan to deliver more food and meet with local Gazans to hear firsthand about this dire situation on the ground. The special envoy and the ambassador will brief the president immediately after their visit to approve a final plan for food and aid distribution into the region. And we will provide more details for all of you once that plan is approved and agreed on by the President of the United States. On the trade front, the president secured a historic trade agreement with the European Union that puts America first and fundamentally strengthens the economic relationship between the two.
Read through some of these chats real quick. Who cares about Biden? Because all the Dems are on Epstein's list. Okay, again, I don't care who's on the list. You MAGA are so delusional. You talk about Trump derangement syndrome. You talk about Trump derangement syndrome all the time, but yet you guys are the ones that are suffering from it the most. Okay, I don't care if it's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a Republican. I don't care if it's an independent. Release the list in its entirety. Do not try to mark it out, which, again, there's allegations that they are now trying to actively go through and mark them out. Don't give me some of Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony that she is begging for a pardon for. Do not give me any kind of grand jury testimony. You promised the files. Why are you covering up for those files? It's very simple. It's very, very, very simple.
Largest economies in the world. This deal delivers on two of President Trump's core promises on trade.
Greg said, you say a lot of stuff that's not true, but I'm still listening to you. I respect that. I respect that you're still listening to me. But I would ask, what am I saying that's not true?
Supercharging America's manufacturing capacity.
He never promised the files. He said he would release them. Okay. Secondly, a bunch of MAGA conservatives, conservative media pundits, namely Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, two that are in the FBI right now, said they want to see the files. They want to see them, and they're not released. Why might that be?
And opening up foreign market access to American.
Yeah, let's see if I can find those clips real quick. Here, let me see if I can find. Thank you for that. Let's do that. Let's see. There's got to be a clip of him compilation. Trump compilation, Epstein files. There's got to be something out here. Let's see. I can't find it. I'm not going to hold up the chat for it.
Businesses. The deal guarantees that
if you got it, Ancom, send it to me. I don't want to spend too much time trying to search for it.
American businesses will have unprecedented levels of access to the European Union markets to export.
Mike says Trump's name is not in the files. Here's the thing, Mike, okay? You would be hard pressed to say that Trump's name is not in the files. For example, let me explain. Trump's name was on the flight logs. Just because Trump's name is in the files does not impugn any kind of guilt. Let's be very, 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 very clear here, okay? But it's undeniable that Trump having connections with Epstein for so long that his name is not in them. You'd be hard pressed to prove that, okay? But what makes it even worse, particularly worse, is that he's covering it up. Why are you covering this up so hard? Right? Why are you for example, okay, this is kind of like if we were to look at it from a criminal case perspective, right? If someone is accused of a particular crime and then they don't have, let's say they don't have, now, by the way, this does happen, okay? This actually has happened where there was an individual in Michigan who did not have, there was no body for this case. There was no body. They did not have a body. They never recovered a body, but there was a bunch of blood in one area of the living room, and they had that he burned some clothes. And then he went and bought some things, right? Let's say that person went out and bought bleach. Okay? You bought bleach, you bought some gloves, you were shown on camera, and you're accused of this particular crime. Do you not think that person looks a little bit guilty? Would the cover-up not impugn that he may just be on those files? That's kind of how that works. Okay?
Our American-made goods. Also, as part of this agreement, the EU will purchase $750 billion in U.S. energy.
So it looks like Ancom has the link for us. Let's go ahead and pull it up if I can maneuver through here. Thank you. I know Ancom. Ancom's over here trying to post the things here. Hold on one second.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I don't need any more. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ancom. That was actually awesome. So what was that, everybody in chat? Everybody in the YouTube chat that was freaking out? Yeah, it's okay, Ancom. That's all right. That's all I needed was that one. I just need one. And this is the problem too, is a lot of MAGA right now they'll run to, they're going to run to saying Agenda 47. But we all know that when a candidate makes a statement on the campaign trail and say an interview, they're going to hold that person accountable for that. Yo, what's going on, Amphibious? I want to show some love to my Twitch chat because I know the Twitch chat is kind of like drowned out by the YouTube chat. All right.
To strengthen our energy dominance, reduce European reliance.
Trump said he would release the list, and Democrats spent 4 years doctoring the information. Bullvine, you have bought full into the TDS.
On adversarial sources and narrow our trade deficit with the EU. The EU will also make new investments of...
Yeah, so this trade deal she's talking about, by the way, is investments, is not the way that it sounds. First of all, these countries are going to be taking out loans, and what they're going to be doing is putting it right back into this investment fund, and then the U.S. has to determine how to divvy up those funds. My guess is that it's not going to be able to be done by Donald Trump. It's going to have to be done by Congress. Good luck getting the money out of that fund. And it's non-binding, which means, guess what? They don't have to put really much of anything in there. They don't really have to do much of that. So again, the idea that this is some kind of a miraculous trade deal, we're seeing this time and time and time and time again. It's not going to happen. But, you know, to each their own, to whoever, you know, whoever they want to do that.
$60 billion in the United States, in addition to the more than $100 billion the EU companies already invest in the U.S.
Hey guys, real quick, we're up to 39 likes from the looks of it. So if we can do me a huge solid, let's at least get to 50. I need 11 people to like that. Let's get to 50 likes. Push this further in the algorithm if you haven't already. Thank you.
Every year. All of these massive purchases and investments will happen by the end of 2028. What we are watching is President Trump rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world and simultaneously proving the so-called economic experts wrong at every turn. Media pundits said a trade deal with the EU this monumental and beneficial to America would be impossible, but President Trump made it happen.
He didn't make anything happen. Far from it.
The so-called economic experts repeatedly said that the American economy would be in a recession this summer. Well, summer is here. It's almost over. And that recession does not exist. Yesterday, in fact, real GDP growth in the second quarter increased at a 3.0% annual.
They were so confident about the economic numbers yesterday. This was literally, guys, this was like yesterday. And they were so confident about these numbers. And now they're like, whoa. Well, the jobs report is fake, guys. Jobs report is fake. It's total Democrat nonsense.
Annual rate.
Yo, what's going on, Skins? Dim judges blocked Epstein files. Dim judges did not. You moron, America. I mean, if you want to go that route, Skins, then I can go ahead and just, you know, time you out if you want. I mean, you ain't got to be so crazy. Let me go ahead. Ancom, I'm going to see. I don't know if I'm able to give you the sword. Okay, I can't give you a sword from here. So they've been some effort to show classified files, but as we all know, they can't fix the economy. It's almost like 40 trillion debt. They can try to reduce the size of it pretty greatly. You got 3 people on Twitch. I've got 435 people right now watching on YouTube. You're more than welcome to go on there, Skins. Twitch poll is gone, by the way. Twitch poll is all but gone. MAGA big failures. They have made, where is it here? Trump voters are starting to realize they were duped by the orange turd again. No wonder they hate themselves. Yeah, they've got that MAGA fell for it again award. If you can type in Twitch chat, just do hashtag /mod. Okay, let me do that. Don't abuse your mod powers there, Ancom. Just saying, buddy. Let me go and do that in Twitch chat. Let me highlight your name. Got to give you that power. You got the power. There we go. All right, cool. All right, let's go back to it.
Significantly above expectations. President Trump's America First policies are driving economic growth, as he always said they would. And this growth is being driven by the private sector,
I appreciate it,
not the government. Federal government spending fell for a second straight quarter, while real business fixed investment rose by nearly 2% following its first quarter.
Fixed investment rose by 2%? No, it didn't. If you look at fixed investment, it did not raise by 2%. Let me actually pull this up because I actually pulled this up earlier. GDP investments, it's right here, I think. Full release in tables. Here we go. Where is it? Fixed investment. Yeah, right here. Hold on, wait. I want to make sure I heard this right.
Quarter surge. Business fixed investment rose by nearly 2% following its first quarter.
All right. I'm going to fact check Caroline Levitt in real time. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Here's fixed investment. Fixed investment rose 0.08. So I guess what she's and even if she's trying to like, I think what she's trying to do is combine this with this, and it did decline. What she didn't talk about right here though is look at this structures. So this fixed investment on structures decreased by by 0.33%. It declined by 0.33%. And why that is important is that non-residential structures are things like warehouses and things of that nature. So that she's just not completely correct in whatever she's saying.
Surge. President Trump is right-sizing government spending, reversing the damage done by the Biden administration.
Yeah, exactly, Darren. They just pick a way to try to like present the stats. Oh, for example, Darren, this is the whole reason why they say that 0 people were released from ICE custody. Okay, that is a true fact. But that gives the illusion that there were 0 people that crossed the southwest border. When you look at southwest border encounters, there are still people crossing the border illegally under Donald Trump. Let's be very clear about that. There was 9,000 people, albeit much smaller than under Joe Biden, but there's still people crossing the border. It's not closed.
In allowing the private sector to flourish. The same so-called experts claimed that President Trump's tariffs would spike inflation.
Arturo, you can go to all of my videos and see that I was there during, not all of Joe Biden's administration, but I was there for the very tail end of it all.
And hurt American consumers. But
yeah, Ancom, you're 100% correct. Trump admin is the best at cherry picking statistics, make themselves look good. Yeah, I mean, look, can I blame them for doing it? No, because they have such a terrible economy. But again, it's funny to me, though, particularly funny to me, that Caroline Leavitt got up there at the very first day that she did her very first press conference. She said, I am going to be the most transparent, most honest person from this podium. And she's done everything to us. It's one of those things like you're honest, but you're misleading people, right? And notice she's not wearing a cross necklace like she used to.
Consumer spending growth just accelerated.
Yeah, Long, thank you. I started my channel in 2019. And by the way, 2019, guys, I like to say, subtle brag, I am one of the grandfathers of Twitch poll. Okay. All right. Just saying. I was a conservative at the time, so I don't have a lot of my videos up at that time. But anyways, it's just so interesting how you can not get your big toe in an interview to be involved in these trade deals, but you come on here and tell people what nobody else knows. I'm working off of the information that they're giving us. If the information they're giving us is saying that it's a $300 billion investment, okay, first of all, Japan is not going to be able to put that much money into that, okay, by themselves. They're going to take out loans. They're going to do all sorts of things anyways. It'll be over a period of time, okay? Japan themselves are not going to be the ones that are necessarily funding this. And to be clear, it's non-binding, which means that they could change it up at any minute. Exactly, Long. It took you 3 seconds. Hey, welcome in, by the way. All right.
And inflation remains right on track. For the past 5 straight months, core inflation has come in below market expectation and remains in line with the Fed's 2% inflation target. Meanwhile, customs and tariff revenue.
See, and they do this too. They're like, well, it's meeting Fed's expectations or it's lower or whatever like that. Inflation's still happening. And I showed it to you guys earlier where the inflation is happening. It's still happening. And again, the problem with those numbers is that it's a lagging indicator, 1, and 2, they've laid off people at the Bureau of Labor Statistics as it is. So the reliability on those statistics is already called into question.
Have already totaled more than $150 billion since President Trump took office, leading to the first June budget surplus in nearly a...
They don't even pick the right statistics even when they're cherry picking themselves. Yeah, 100% amphibious. There was nothing coming in shore under Biden. Nothing coming in shore. You sure about that? Let's see how much. Let's look this up. How many imports? Oh, what's up, Steve? I got you mixed up, Steve. I don't know how long you've been here. How many imports under Biden? Let's see. I mean, I'm looking at this one right here. Factcheck.org. This is December 14th of 2022. Under President Joe Biden, U.S. exports of goods and services have increased, but U.S. imports have grown even faster. The more than $3.4 trillion in imports in 2021 was higher than any other year on record. I can't make that up. It's right there. This is from factcheck.org, posted on December 14th of 2022. You can't make it up.
Decade. Those revenues will skyrocket even further starting tomorrow when new reciprocal tariff rates take effect.
And they did take effect. Let me see if I can pull it up while it's playing.
President Trump is restoring America's economic sovereignty by reducing our reliance on foreign countries, boosting investment in the U.S. to the tune of trillions of dollars, and creating hundreds of thousands of
Here are the new tariff rates, guys, so that you can see them. So right here, you can see Afghanistan is 15%. Algeria is 30%. They've got a whole bunch on here. 40% for Myanmar. What else do we have? Another higher one. Serbia is 35%. South Africa is 30%. Switzerland is 39%. You like that chocolate? Do y'all like that Switzerland chocolate or what? Guess what? It's going to be a lot more expensive. Syria is 41%. My goodness. NX2. What's NX2? Oh, okay. This is all. Okay. This is a whole bunch of things. All right. But yeah, so they definitely implemented them, and prices are going to continue to go up.
Jobs for the American people. With America finally put first on trade and the largest middle class.
Yeah, Paul, who paid for the wall? I know Mexico didn't.
Tax cuts in history and other pro-growth.
Paula said tariffs are not paid by the consumer. You're correct. Tariffs are paid for immediately by the person that's importing. It's the importer, right? The person who's buying that product. However, let's be very, very clear here. Do you think businesses, I like to throw this analogy at conservatives because they love to use this. And this is why having been a former conservative, I know all of the conservative talking points. What would you say about raising the minimum wage to, let's say, $15, $20 an hour? Why shouldn't we raise the minimum wage to $15, $20 an hour? Oh, that's right. Because guess what? They would end up either A, laying off workers, which they're doing. B, they would end up reducing hours. Or C, they would end up raising the prices. That is how that works. Companies love to, first of all, think about the fiduciary responsibility that these companies have. They have a responsibility to their stockholders. What do they have their fiduciary responsibility to stockholders to do? To make profits. So what are they going to do? Are they going to eat that cost? No, absolutely not.
Provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill beginning to take effect.
And more importantly, ANCOM, importers will never, ever eat that additional cost. They'll pass it on to the consumer. Not even just that. They will take advantage of the tariffs. They will never come back down. Look at egg prices. This is a classic example. So wholesale egg prices went down, but guess what? Egg prices themselves did not keep up at the same rate and decline as it did on the wholesale market. Why might that be? Because they were trying to make up for the loss, on the most generous response, by the way, was that they were trying to make up for the loss that they had incurred due to the high egg wholesale prices. So companies will not go back down in price. Okay? Those prices are going to be here to stay, and they're going to use tariffs as an excuse to keep those prices high.
The American economy will boom like never before over the course of the next 3.5 years, thanks to the president's vision. Finally, as you all know, the president signed an executive order earlier this year to solve the problem of exorbitant pharmaceutical prices.
Paula said tariffs are paid to a country for the privilege of doing business in that country. They may or may not pass some of their costs on to the consumer, but they still have to remain competitive also. Yeah, see, Paula, the problem with that is, and I appreciate you engaging in pretty decent faith, the problem with that is when the entire market sees that we have and Ancom mentioned this in the Twitch chat, okay? When they see that they have an ability, when the market, in other words, when you have Walmart that raises their price up by $1, do you think Target's not going to seize on that advantage? The problem that a lot of people think that aren't in business, or at least savvy business, and this is usually from the hustle people, right? The people who are hustling to make money, they don't think about it strategically. If you know that the 4 out of 5 competitors around you are increasing their cost by, 50 cents, would it not behoove you to increase your prices by 50 cents? You may say, well, you're cheaper. More people will buy your product. Not necessarily. There's a lot of psychology that goes into a cheaper product as well. Okay. This is one of the reasons why when people lower their prices, for example, I've had instances where movers, you can see where movers, the people who are like, I've got a beaten up trailer and I can pay, I can charge you $40, but you know that there's this nice shiny building off to the side and they're going to charge you $150. That psychology in your mind of $40, you know you're getting a cheaper product and you're knowing that you are in a much more vulnerable position by taking that person. You are already psychologically inclined to not side with that person. So what I'm trying to say by all of this, because I got way too far into the weeds, is that they're going to increase their costs. They're not going to decrease their cost to stay competitive and take everything. Yeah, that's not how that works. They generally are going to kind of bounce up and down like this as they go up, right? They're going to go, ooh, and then go up. All right, let's continue.
Pricing. According to recent data, the prices that Americans have been paying for brand name drugs are more than 3 times the price other similarly developed nations pay. The president is determined.
You see that interview? What's up, Dan? Welcome back in, buddy. You see that interview with Trump where he talks about Caroline's face and lips? No, I don't. And that sounds extremely terrifying. Gas prices competing. I don't know if they're competitive, my guy.
To solve this problem and took further action today. He has signed 17 letters to pharmaceutical companies' CEOs. And I would like to read you one of these letters to the CEO of Eli Lilly. All of these letters will be provided to you following this briefing. This is to the CEO of Eli Lilly from the President of the United States. On May 12th, 2025, I signed an executive order delivering most favored nation prescription drug pricing to American patients to stop global freeloading and guarantee that Americans pay the same prices enjoyed by other developed nations. Right now, brand name drugs in the United States are up to 3 times higher on.
So I can kind of explain what's going on here, okay? So essentially what we had was that the most favorable nation, okay, or most favored nation, essentially set out saying that certain pharmaceutical companies would give the U.S. the best rate they would not give them a rate higher than other countries around the world, right? And that's why it's most favored nation. The problem with this, and we saw, by the way, the day before this, we saw Oz speaking with Donald Trump saying, I need to speak to you about MFN. My theory on all of this is that because the EU trade deal would spike pharmaceutical prices. So Donald Trump is trying to tell these companies that they are not going to charge us any more. Really bad idea for these pharmaceutical companies, because these pharmaceutical companies that make a lot of their products in Europe and in the EU are going to have to pay that 15% additional tariff. What Donald Trump is essentially telling these pharmaceutical companies is to eat the cost. Now, if you don't like pharmaceutical companies, you'd say, great. But this is direct conflict, because you can't necessarily impose an additional cost onto the pharmaceutical companies without them having to raise their prices. So what might end up happening is that it's actually going to harm the rest of the world. Because guess what's going to end up happening? They're going to want to make that money up somewhere. So they'll charge more money to, say, Europe, or they may charge more money to Asia, or wherever else they may find it. Okay? So again, it's crazy how this works out. I'd encourage anybody looking at it. It's kind of boring, but look into it. It's really fascinating.
Average than anywhere else for the identical medicines. This unacceptable burden on hardworking American families.
I know, Mr. Geek. Welcome in, buddy. Welcome in, by the way. Dan said, Jane, you're crazy. Caroline's fake nose and fake lips. The fact that she's a homewrecker. Yeah, so the funny thing about Caroline Leavitt, not to get too personal about it, because I don't like really attacking, personal arguments. Yeah, Caroline Leavitt is like twice her age of her husband, by the way. Just saying. Republicans Republicans, for all the times they try to accuse the left of being certain kinds of people, it's very interesting that Republicans are always the ones that get caught like this. I'm just saying. But Caroline Leavitt is like significantly younger than her husband. But anyways, that's like drama stuff I don't really like to talk about. Your YouTube chat is wild. Imagine thinking that controlling medicine prices is socialism. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Ancom. It's hilarious to me that now Donald Trump is talking about controlling prices, but they accuse Kamala Harris of price controls when she talked about price gouging. Remember all of that? It's crazy to me to see that.
Ends with my administration. Most proposals the Trump administration has received to resolve this critical issue promised more of the same, shifting blame and requesting policy changes that would result in billions of dollars in handouts to industry. Moving forward, the only thing I will accept from drug manufacturers is a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from the vastly inflated drug price.
Hey guys, do me a favor. We're at 74 likes right now. I want to see that up, baby. Let's get it up, all right? We're at 74. Let's try to make that 100 before we get off. So if you're watching this, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. We have 15 minutes to hit this goal, okay? It's free. All you have to do is hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. That's all you got to do. It's free. All right? Let's continue going.
And an end to the free ride of American innovation by European.
No, not a problem, Peter. I appreciate everything you coming in here, and I appreciate everybody who's on here. I've seen a couple of people returning. Dan, I've seen Steve Primavera come in here as well. I think Paul may have even And I think Paul may have been in here a couple of times. So I recognize a couple of you guys. So appreciate all of you guys for watching the show. All right, let's continue on.
Other developed nations. Accordingly, I'm calling on Eli Lilly and Company and every manufacturer doing business in our great country to take the following actions within the next 60 days. Extend the most favored nation pricing to Medicaid, guarantee most favored nation pricing for newly launched drugs, return increased revenues abroad to American patients and taxpayers, provide for direct purchasing at most favored nation pricing. The President's team, including Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz, stand ready to implement these terms. The President expects to further engage with them immediately in good faith to deliver relief.
Yeah, this is going to be extremely difficult for them to be able to enforce this because, again, pharmaceutical companies are going to be like, yo, I want my cut.
For American families. Make no mistake, a collaborative effort towards achieving global pricing parity would be the most effective path for companies, the government, and American.
You're not wrong, Dan, or not Dan. Who was it? Oh, Joey. Is it just me or does every press briefing sound so aggressive? Yeah, it kind of does. I don't know why.
Patients. But if you refuse to step up, we will deploy every tool in our arsenal to protect American families from continued abusive drug pricing practices. Americans are demanding lower drug prices, and they need them today. Other nations have been freeloading on U.S. innovation for far too long, and it is time they pay their fair share. I look forward to your binding commitments to each of these goals by September 29th, 2025, and my team stands ready to assist with implementation questions. Thank you for your immediate attention to this vital national priority. Signed, President Donald J. Trump. Again,
Donald Trump's been doing
CEO
this thing
of
too, where he's like, thanks for your attention to this matter. I didn't see this before. It seems like a new thing he's doing. By the way, the funny thing I noticed about this, okay, I know I didn't really put it on X. I was like, man, I really probably should. Take a look right now at this little thing right. Oh, my dog knocked over my red light. That's all right. You know what? We got Democrat blue rocking. My dog knocked over the red light. That says everything. He scratched out whatever that is, which makes me feel like this is, you can see up here, it says Eli Lilly. So what I imagine he did was that he like just copy and pasted this for each person individually, almost like an auto pen, right? Kind of like an auto pen.
By Lilly. This letter, in its form, has been designed for each of the 17 major drug and pharmaceutical companies in the United States, and we're happy to provide you the full list. And I believe you will see all 17 letters popping on Truth Social very shortly, so you can look out for those, and I'm happy to take any further questions. Before we get to questions, I do have one other announcement from the White House and from the President.
Oh, here we go, y'all. This is it. This is the announcement, guys.
We are proud to announce that the construction of the new White House ballroom will begin. For 150 years, presidents, administrations, and White House staff have longed for a large event space on the White House complex that can hold substantially more guests than currently allowed. President Trump has expressed his commitment to solving this problem on behalf of future administrations and the American people. The White House is one of the most beautiful and historic buildings in the world, yet the White House is currently unable to host major functions honoring world leaders in other countries without having to install a large and unsightly tent approximately 100 yards away from the main building's entrance. The White House State Ballroom will be a much needed and exquisite addition of approximately 90,000 total square feet of innately designed and carefully crafted space with a seated capacity of 650 people, which is a significant increase from the 200-person seated capacity in the East Room of the White House. In recent weeks, President Trump has held several meetings with members of the White House staff, the National Park Service, the White House Military Office, and the United States Secret Service to discuss design features and planning. President Trump has chosen McCreary Architects as the lead architect, which is well known.
Let me go and show you guys what this ballroom looks like. It's insane, and it definitely reeks of like Trump. Let me go and pull this up real quick. So here we go. Here is the ballroom. Here's what it's going to look like off to the side. Here is the other view, another view looking at front of the White House. You can see it off to the side here. And this is the inside, all gold. Reeks of Trump, don't it? Like, looks like Mar-a-Lago. You could see, this is the guys, I guess the side of it. Another view of it. Yeah, it's going to cost over $200 million.
For their classical architectural design.
And again, it's going to be paid for. Yo, Joey with the super chat. $10. Let's go, Joey. Welcome in, buddy. I would almost bet you 2 weeks' pay is going to be called the Trump wing. Oh, probably. And keep in mind, guys, the funny thing about this is that it's the East Wing. Guess what's in the East Wing? The First Lady's office. Just saying. Just saying. Yo, Joey, thank you so much for that super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, the architect was like McCreary. I know that's a good point too. Whoever asked about the architect, because the funny thing is like I wonder what kind of connections they have. Are they another donor? Now they're saying that they're going to cover this, and I think she's going to mention it. This is going to be covered by Donald Trump paying some of it and other donors. And people have been saying, who are these other donors? Are they going to be foreign countries? Just like, for example, the crypto dinner that they had, where there were other foreign people that came in and visited Donald Trump for that crypto dinner. Who are these other donors? I think we ought to know who those other donors are.
And based right here in our nation's capital. The construction team will be headed by Clark Construction, and the engineering team will be led by AECOM. The project will begin in September 2025, and it is expected to be completed long before the end of President Trump's term. President Trump and other donors have generously committed to donating the funds necessary to build this approximately $200 million structure. The United States Secret Service will provide the necessary security enhancements.
This is what I want MAGA to do. I want MAGA to sit there and understand and think about, just think about what you're doing here, okay? You're going to argue, well, Donald Trump is paying for this. You're going to argue to me that this is something that's going to be paid for by other people. Think about the after Trump's gone. You've got the maintenance of it. You've got the security of it. You're paying for this building. Stop thinking, the MAGA have to stop thinking about everything in such a rudimentary, two-dimensional sense, because this is going to cost the taxpayer money. Rest assured of that. And if not for the construction, if not for the maintenance, how of all of these ballrooms now? Okay. First of all, we had 200 guests. Now you can sit 900 guests. That's more food that you got to put on people's tables. That's more decorations, more hours. The taxpayers are paying for this, guys. And it's so wasteful. Just in and of itself is wasteful. They can't, Vince. They're morons. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Dan. They're not big thinkers. They claim to be hard workers, and I get that. But a business person understands that there's so many costs that go into a construction that's beyond the construction of it.
Modifications. The White House ballroom will be substantially separated from the main building of the White House, but at the same time, its theme and architectural heritage will be almost identical. The site of the new ballroom will be where the small, heavily changed and reconstructed East Wing currently sits. The East Wing was constructed...
Well, exactly, Digit. The electricity bill will be insane. Now, I don't know, granted, how the White House works with electricity and where that gets billed. I'm not an expert on governmental billing, but I can't imagine it's going to be cheap. Okay, Michael, you want to... Okay, so we'll go ahead and hide that user. All right.
In 1902 and has been renovated and changed many times, with a second story added in 1942. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has provided the following statement. President Trump is a builder at heart and has an extraordinary eye for detail. The president and the Trump White House are fully committed to working with the appropriate organizations.
The bill offsets the cost until he's gone. It's a trap. Probably, right? Watch, it's under construction. That's a good point. It's under construction. Or this is the problem, right? And this is why I hate the way they use this. It's like the Made in America thing, right? They do Made in America, right? And Made in America is like it only has to be 10% Made in America to have that label slapped on it. So when Donald Trump says he's going to pay for some of it, how much is he going to pay for it? How much are other donors going to pay for it? And how much is the taxpayer going to pay for it? I guarantee you, as much as I'm willing to bet here, that Donald Trump is going to be the one sitting there paying a fraction of it. Other donors are going to pay some of it, and the taxpayers are going to pay for some of it too. We'll see.
To preserve the special history of the White House while building a beautiful ballroom that can be enjoyed by future administrations and generations of Americans to come. In the White House, we will continue to provide the
I'm going to skip through most of this.
Exterior and the interior. I have provided some photos for all of you in the room today. This is the interior of the ballroom space. It's quite beautiful. And then this is the modernized and renovated. We're happy to answer any further questions on that, Jennifer. Since you're so eager, I will go to you. But first, as always, I want to start with our new media seat.
Dan said Trump won't pay 1 cent. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I'm trying to be honest on reporting this and saying that, yes, Donald Trump allegedly will pay some of this. I have no idea how much, right? Always be careful of the snake oil salesman, right? That sits there and goes, hey, guys, this tastes delicious. And then all of a sudden you taste it, you're like, hey, it's all right. But then it doesn't do all the other stuff, right? He'll leave the place with a hole in the ground.
Ben Weingarten, why don't you go ahead, Ben?
Thank you. In light of the...
That's a good point, Joey. That's a good point. We know Donald Trump doesn't pay his contractors.
Released the declassification of the annex to the Durham report today. Beyond any potential prosecutions, the outcomes of which will likely be uncertain.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell to get notified of all future videos. And I hope you watch the next video. Thank you so much.